In this video, we're going to circle back to the resignation speech that Washington, D.C. Police Chief Pamela Shouting Crow Smith delivered last week. In my previous video, we watched her muster all the decorum expected of a law enforcement officer and public official busted for doctoring crime statistics during what should have been a somber, forced ouster. And we got this.
F you. Who couldn't stand to be held accountable. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it again.
And of course, her hiring had nothing to do with DEI. No, sir. Don't even think DEI was involved. You're thinking it, aren't you? Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dredd Show.
Well, you'd be right. Now, I said in my past video that it's terribly unfair when people yell DEI whenever someone that doesn't look like me gets promoted. Quite often that person is well deserving of their promotion. But not this time. As I mentioned before, the DC Metropolitan Police Department carved out a whole new office just for equity and placed her in charge of it. Because before this equity office was in place, the MPD just couldn't do its job. How are police expected to investigate crimes and hunt down suspects without an equity office? Especially in lily white Washington, D.C., where all those crackers on the payroll made working for the department unbearable. Wait, what's this dude doing in the picture? They clearly didn't want to put only cops of color in the pic. Gotta have that token. But they couldn't bear to see a white person. That would be like placing Satan in the photo. Or even worse, Trump. So in goes the Asian. And if you think, wait, he's a person of color, well, you don't get it. The term person of color is no longer viable. It's passé. Too many Asians with their high SATs and tiger parents were using their hard work and scholarship to get ahead. And you can't use racial minority because they're racial minorities. What to do? What to do? I know, let's use racially minoritized. Asians are racial minorities, but they're not racially minoritized, because as we all know, Asians have been treated like kings and queens in this country. So the new term racially minoritized not only wiped Asians out of the DEI picture, it also took out those pesky American Indians wanting fair treatment because of something about genocide and disease and land theft and all that other inconsequential silly stuff. Besides, they're really Asians, right? And I know what you're thinking. Come on, Johnny. When the radical left fights for equity, they fight for equity for all people. Yeah, hang on to that thought. This is the Black Reparations agenda for the city of Chicago that was drafted by a Chicago's Reparations study formed by Mayor Brandon Einstein Johnson. The first two paragraphs just set the stage for the condemnation of slavery, and I don't have any disagreements here. Slavery is an institution that no reasonable person can defend. But I know what you're thinking. What about American Indians? Well, they haven't forgotten them in this initiative.
Whereas Chicago was founded by Jean-Baptiste Point de Sable in 1780 on traditional homelands of the Anishinaabe, or the Council of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations.
With that, your resistance to reparations fades. American Indians have not been forgotten in this money grab. The committee recognizes their hardships, the toll inflicted on them by genocide, disease, not just in Illinois, but over the entire country. Here, they gratefully acknowledge that their land was not only stolen from them, but used by white settlers and de Sable to build their wealth. The value of this land, where Chicago now sits, is immeasurable. Finally, we have a committee that recognizes their loss, that understands their struggles, and is willing to lay out a plan to recompensate American Indians for the value they brought to the city of Chicago. That's because when they fight for racial equality, they fight for everyone. Yeah, well, f*** you. If you're an American Indian thinking that they fired up even 5 brain cells carving out indemnifications for you, tough shit. They didn't even have the gumption to acknowledge that the land was taken from you. It just says,
Chicago was founded on traditional homelands.
and there is a reason why they didn't mention property theft. They didn't want American Indians horning in on their reparation checks. But there's another reason. You see, DeSable was black. I'm sure someone on the committee wanted to point that out, prompting the others to yell,
Oh, hell no!
"You let that out?"
And those Injuns will want us to pay them.
Now, that's obviously an oversimplification. He was just the first to settle there, but I'm having fun with this. And if you get a chance, read up or watch a documentary on DeSable. He was an amazing entrepreneur for the day. As for the rest of this agenda, I'll post a link in the description below, but it's filled with all sorts of illuminating facts about reparations and why we need them, and that will make for a juicy upcoming video that will be coming out this week. So subscribe. And that takes us to our special guest, with an emphasis on special, Introvert Rockstar. I'm going to skip ahead to keep this video relatively short.
So in 2026, it's up to us to bring awareness. In 2026, it's up to us to stand on business with our people. I said what I said. And matter of fact, there's more. Run the goddamn tape.
If you could introduce yourself at the microphone.
My name on the joint is Mike Blackman.
Okay, thank you.
You got me?
Yes.
All right, hello, good evening, everybody. If everybody, including the commissioners, could do me a favor, if you, your parents, and or your grandparents immigrated from somewhere, please raise your hand.
Okay, so essentially no one's grandparents immigrated from another country. Well, neither did mine.
Anyone on the commission, ma'am, raise your hand, please.
Yeah, if you have the gall to not raise your hand, he'll fix that for you. What the hell kind of survey is this? Please raise your hand if... Wait, you're not raising your hand. Raise your hand, damn it. We're trying to be scientific here.
Immigrated, came from somewhere else. No, ma'am, don't project that onto me. Pardon me, quiet please, you're taking up my time. Pardon me.
At most city council meetings, you're not allowed to target individual council members if you're speaking in an open session. Here, he's even asking council members to respond to his queries, which is a no-no. The reason is that council members are usually not allowed to respond to statements made during open sessions, so questions or actions pointed at them become unfairly one-sided.
So, ma'am, raise your hand, please. All right, so we have one lady that's part of the commission that for some reason is ashamed of her heritage. And
this is how you build support for your ideas. At this point, the city council should have ended his time and asked him to sit down. These type of personal comments are completely out of line.
Ma'am, reparations isn't a remedy for racism. Reparations is a debt that's owed from slavery.
And what does this have to do with whether her grandparents immigrated here? And by the way, yes, putting your hand out like that is extremely rude.
Reparations is more than a check. But the very first thing it is a check. And that goes to the living descendant survivors of slavery here in what we now call the United States of America. I need you commissioners to have the same energy for us, for our lineage, that you have for these illegals that come over here with $0 in their pocket, no shoes on their feet, and then within 24 hours, they got Jordans, the newest cell phone with the watch to match. So I need you to have the same energy for us, because you don't have them doing a million studies and commissions all over the city and state. You don't have studies and commission all over the city and state when it's time to give millions, billions, and trillions to Israel. Netanyahu, he's setting up drones. My man right here, he got a drone. But Netanyahu, he has guns and bombs on the drones, and they're killing people out there. Y'all don't have studies and commissions when it comes to send money to Netanyahu.
That sounds more like a federal issue. This is a New York City meeting. I don't think New York City can send arms to a foreign country. And by the way, I note that he calls them illegals.
That's racist.
That was racist.
Yeah, that's racist.
Oh, that is racist.
I thought we weren't supposed to do that. I thought no human being was supposed to be illegal. You see, political correctness is for the other guy.
Y'all don't have studies and commissions when it comes to send money to Ukraine and all this other stuff. So stop playing with our money, get us our money. And if the language isn't right, everyone get one of these papers. It takes 2 to 3 minutes to fill out the QR codes, and it'll help disaggregate the information and the language and get everything right.
Yeah, I bet that information will really help draft a professional reparations document. I don't think
Just give me my money, and I don't want a check. I want cash.
will do much for settling debates.
And Kathy Hochul, I know you're listening. If you don't give me my money, I'm gonna land right there.
And so he ends with a veiled threat. This is how you lose support. Who wants to kowtow to extortion?
They can give every other race, they can give every other ethnic group their money. Tell me I'm lying. They don't want to pay us our money, but they can put $7.3 million. They just put $7.3 million into turnstiles in these subways.
How is this relevant? You just got done crying that all these other races get reparations. And as an example, you mentioned the money spent on subway turnstiles?
They don't want to pay us our money, but over and over and over again, they can lay off our people and then come back and say, oh, the black people not working, black people not lazy. You laying off our people on purpose.
On purpose? How is it that your people are being laid off on purpose? If they are, then why would they have been hired in the first place?
All this is by design, and they trying to play in our faces. Tell me I'm lying. New York City's wealth was built by enslaved black labor and slave-backed finance. Black Americans built the city's infrastructure and worked its farms and docks for free, while Wall Street banks, insurers, and shipping firms financed plantations and moved slave-grown cotton through New York. They also transferred skills, culture, and labor systems that sustained the city's growth long after slavery formally ended. Make that make sense.
First of all, I don't see a citation, so I can't look that up. Who knows who said it? Those statements are grandly exaggerated and downplay the massive growth in New York City due to the influx of Irish and Italian immigrants, who brought with them a lot of skills. Italians, for example, are widely known for their masonry skills. They immigrated from a country that had built a ton of buildings. And by the way, it was these immigrants who built the White House in Washington, D.C., not slaves. While slaves were forced to cut the rocks that would wind up being used in the White House, the actual construction was mostly undertaken by European immigrants.
So let me get this straight. They sold our ancestors. They stripped our ancestors of their names, and damn near every invention, every historical building, the music, the clothing, the arts, I can go on and on. We did that. Tell me I'm lying.
You're lying. Let's just take these one at a time. Every invention? I have no idea where he can come up with such a ludicrous claim. I want to be as fair as possible, but I can't be fair and support such a statement. I would be just pushing propaganda and making myself look like a fool. What inventions is he talking about? Have African Americans invented important stuff in the past? Of course. All races and ethnicities have contributed to what we have today. But all inventions? Every historical building? I'm not aware of any that are consequential beyond serving as museum pieces. Most of your skyscrapers in New York City were constructed with a wide mix of races, with a particularly heavy involvement of American Indians who have this insane ability to work at elevations that would make most people faint. The music? There's this mistaken notion out there that Europeans didn't have a musical tradition, that the first time they ever heard music is when they landed in Africa to pick up slaves. In fact, the greatest composers of all time were English, Germans, Dutch, and so on. Bach, Beethoven, Handel, they're not former slaves. And Irish reels formed the basis for bluegrass and folk, which when combined with blues, formed modern country music. Now, have the descendants of slaves greatly contributed to modern music? Of course, their impact on jazz and blues is self-evident. I would go further to say that they probably have contributed the majority of our modern influence in rock. but without slaves, we would still be listening to music. Rap sucks, by the way. Clothing? How? The modern t-shirt was created by the U.S. Navy, not slaves. Jeans? Invented by a Russian American and patented by a white-owned company, Levi Strauss. What about sneakers? Whiteys. What about Air Jordans? Designed by 3 white boys at Nike. All that money you spent on Air Jordans went to a white-owned company. Baseball caps were invented for baseball teams. I don't see any black influence there. The arts? New York City has a long, rich history of the arts. Some of it is black influenced, no doubt, but a lot of it isn't. Here's a painting by one of my favorites, Mark Kostabi. He isn't black, although he didn't actually paint this. He paid some underling minimum wage to do it. So maybe this is not a good example.
Did you paint this?
I didn't touch the brush or the paint or the canvas, but I painted it.
How do you explain that?
Well, I have a large staff which executes my paintings, and they do the actual applying of the paint, but I'm the author and the painter of the work.
So it's not really your idea, and you really didn't actually draw it or put the paint on the canvas.
But I'm the author.
People would ask, what exactly do you do?
Well, I kind of hang around and make sure things are moving smoothly.
And then they have the audacity to tell us we begging. Then they have the audacity to include other ethnic groups into what they owe our people. And you think I'm going to stop talking about reparations?
You hear that, American Indians? How dare you think that the white man owes you anything?
Hell no. Run FBA, they coins. And look, I'm not from New York. I just moved here last year.
Ah, you just moved there, but you want in on the reparations package given out by the state. Oh, jeez.
But just like this dude, I've been calling out Governor Kathy Hochul because over and over and over again, she vetoed a Grievance Family Act that would have helped black families out. That act would benefit black families from these racist ass hospitals. Matter of fact, check this out. Kathy Hochul keeps vetoing the Grievance Families Act because it would hold hospitals financially accountable when mothers die from medical negligence. She cites cost and insurance concerns, while critics say the veto shields hospital systems and leaves black families who face the highest maternal death rates in New York without real justice. Make that make sense. She vetoed that act 3 times because she don't care if black women die in Woodhull Hospital. She don't care if black women die while in labor. Tell me I'm lying.
It's not that simple. The hospitals in question are badly underfunded, and so they don't employ the best hospital staff. But the millions shelled out by these hospitals to the 2 or 3 families that have been grievously injured just makes the hospital even more underfunded, which lowers patient care for everyone. By the way, families right now can sue hospitals for negligent deaths. This bill simply expands the definition of a damaged party to include uncles, cousins, anyone that can claim they had a special relationship with the patient. So now you're paying out to 10 to 12 people instead of, say, 2. But whatever, not my problem. In my next video, I'm going to read more of the reparations study issued by Mayor Brandon Johnson, and you won't want to miss that. So subscribe to my channel. I mean, come on. I have actually lost 10 subscribers over the past 3 months. Think about it. I had more subscribers 3 months ago than I have now. So if you want to see more content from me, give me a reason to create it.